to pivot a little bit and talk about how money has or has not changed you.
Sure. My first lesson, which is, encrypted in my DNA now, was the idea of working for, pay. And my first job was in high school, and I got it specifically because there was a girl in my grade that I was really interested in, and she got a job at the shoe store in the mall, and I was able to get a job across in the ice cream parlor. And my plan was, when the mall closed down, we could go out, and hang out together, which was a good plan. And so I told her, look, I got a job across the way. And my first day on the job, I'll never forget it, she was in the window putting in the shoes there. It's a small mall. And I was in this ice cream store scooping ice cream. And when people, my first day, it was owned by a woman, I'll never forget it. She says, look, when people ask you for a sampler, here's a little wooden spoon, give them a little sample. But what happens when that occurs, when people do samples, they take their gum out of their mouth and they throw it on the floor. So all day long, gum was piling up on the floor, Mexican tiles in this place. So the first day is over, and she said, you did a great job. You sold $4,000 of ice cream, whatever it was. But now you've got to finish up, and you've got to take all the gum off the floor. Now, at that moment, the girl I was interested in was looking at me, waiting to see when I was going to walk out of the store. And I realized if I get down on my knees and scrape gum, I'm in trouble here. This is not a good look. I said to her, look, you hired me as a scooper, not a scraper. And she said, no, I hired you as an employee. You do whatever I say. I own this store. Whatever I say, you're going to do. And I said, I don't think so. If you want to hire somebody to take gum off the floor, that's a different job. If I'd known that, I probably wouldn't take this position. She said, how about this? You're fired. And I went, whoa, what's that mean? She said, it means you get back on your bicycle, go home, don't come back here. I'll send you for your today's pay. I was so humiliated when I got home and explained that to my mother. She said, you should have done what she asked. And I realized right then, and this is the important lesson, this is one of those pivotal moments. In life, there's two types of people. There's the people that own the store, and there's the people that scrape the shit off the floor. And you have to decide, which one are you? I'm not saying it's bad to be an employee, but she taught me such an important lesson. The humiliation of not controlling your own destiny is evident in that story, because that's the way I read it. I thought, this is horrible. Whatever she says I have to do, I'm not going to live my life that way. I never worked another day in my life for somebody, ever again. Now, decades later, I can afford to bulldoze the whole mall if I want. And I go back there to meet her because I wanted to thank her for that moment for me, that amazing moment where she just reset my whole dial, all my DNA. I just didn't want to scrape stuff off the floor, ever. I wanted to own the store, and I couldn't find her. The store was gone. I hired somebody to find her because I wanted to thank her and help her out for making that moment happen to me. But there's a story that tells you a defining moment for one random person deciding what path they were going to take. Entrepreneurship for me, I've never looked back. I could probably buy a whole bunch of malls now if I wanted. Allegiance has to be to the business first, because without that, all the good things that you want to do are going to fail. And so as your business grows and you make decisions about individual people, you can't let your emotion get in the way of what you really need to do, which is to drive success of the business. And so the minute you get your first customer, you now become number 2. The minute you get your first investor, now you're number 3. The minute you hire your second employee, you're number 4. It's still your business, but now you know who you have to serve. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs that fail don't understand that you're always serving someone, a shareholder, a customer, the business. And if you lose sight of that by letting your emotions get in the way, and this often happens, certainly happened to me in early days, many people hire their friends. They start a company with their friend or with their brother.
Good way to end a friendship.
Or it's a family business. And very often, nepotism is what kills the golden goose, because very often the better manager is not your sister, brother, uncle, cousin, whatever. And I live through this all the time in the companies that I'm an investor in. I have 32 portfolio companies now. I watch this happen every day, and I don't let emotion get in the way. What I find is, and this is why I give a big warning sign, is to take the social mission and say it's the primary mission of the business, and its DNA has now been modified and has morphed into something else, and make that secondary to the shareholder, the customer, and the employee. That is not a successful model.
So it's a question, am I hearing you say, it's a question of the magnitude of the social mission so that it's in its place versus the real mission of the business, which is to take care of the customer, the shareholder, the employee, or is it something different? And you see what I'm saying? In other words,
No, I get it. But what you're going to
That
find...
if I flip it and I say my business's mission is to do good in the community and give shoes to people.
That is a very important mission. It's called charity. And there is a very important aspect of what every entrepreneur, I give the same percentage
give to charity
every year.
You're very
but I don't confuse that with the mission of my businesses. This is the challenge, and I'm not scared to say this. Business is war. There are competitors, winners, and losers. It's binary. You either make money or you lose it. You need to understand that as an entrepreneur. You have to embrace what that means to you and understand what it means to society. Your job is to make that business successful. It's to steal market share from your competitors. It's to salt the earth they used to walk on. It's to make sure you put them out of business and you achieve success. Then, and only then, after you have got all of those profits as being a successful business model, you give it back and you pay it forward. That is the model. That's how it works, and that's never going to change. The ones that work, the ones that get a check, does not determine the outcome of the business. These are the ones that get a check, that actually start their journey funded on Shark Tank, that go into the ecosphere Shark Tank, that get followed every year by all the networks, that get all the daytime television and all that stuff because they got an investor. In every case, they're able to articulate the idea in 90 seconds or less. Every single time they were able to say, and most of them are 60 seconds, they say, look, I'm from Cohasset, Massachusetts. I put cupcakes in a jar and I FedEx them to people. I get it. The ones that ramble on and can't get the idea out, and it's still 10 minutes later, and we're still wondering, what are they talking about? They never get funded. So that's number one. That only is 90 seconds. The next segment is the part of discovery where they explain to you, and I generally only invest in teams now. I like the yin and yang of two partners that bring different skill sets. But they explain over, let's say, a 10-minute period why they're the right people to execute the business plan. And this ends up being very important because when those two come together, you can start to see, I can see Cuban over on my right starting to make noise, and Barbara's starting to get excited over here because, wait a minute, these guys know what they're doing. Here's the killer, and this is where you can spend an hour, 2 hours.
And sometimes you do.
We do. There are some legendary cases that have gone past 2 hours. By now, there's a competition going on. There's going to be an investment. It's just who's going to do it.
Who's going to do it?
And
Who's going to get it? And what are the terms?
But then the discovery and the one where they fall, I've seen so many presentations crash and burn here. The numbers. They don't know their numbers. And if you show up in front of me on Shark Tank and you get past phase 1 and 2 and we spend an hour, and you don't know what the gross margins are, you don't know what the break-even analysis is, you don't know how many competitors you have, you don't know how fast the market is growing. If you don't have the answer to all those questions, I should put you in hell in perpetuity. You should burn in hell because you got there. You're on the carpet. You're there about to start your journey and you don't know your numbers? Immediate execution. I mean, that's unbelievably stupid.